This video is brought to you by Scopic.com. Get yours now.
Hey guys, this is Phil from TheCage.com. So we're going to take a look at the iPad Pro 9.7. As much as I want to call this an iPad Air 3, it's got the same dimensions, it's got, it looks almost the same, but Apple is claiming this as a Pro tablet. And of course, they're charging extra $100. So how is it different? Let's start with the device itself. Of course, it comes in rose gold. It's a whole new color. Not exactly whole new, but as an iPad, it is the first in town. And there's a little camera bump over there that ensures a better camera quality, but isn't exactly the most welcome feature, especially when the device is big like this. For God's sake, it's a tablet and it's got a camera bump. Well, the good thing is that it doesn't wobble around at least. No matter whichever part that you touch on a tablet, it doesn't wobble around because of the bumped out camera, so that's a good thing at least. The first thing that comes into my mind when I look at the iPad Pro 9.7 is the display. Now, they added a new thing called a True Tone display. At first, I thought it was a gimmick that a Samsung would do, but this is actually a lot useful than I thought. So True Tone basically adjusts your screen's color temperature to the ones that are surrounding you. So it's a lot easier for you to look at. I would say it's an ergonomic feature and it really helps reading things at your iPad. And of course, they added the new support for the Apple Pencil. Now, remind you that this is the same Apple Pencil, so it will have a somewhat of an annoying mechanism of charging, and if you have an emergency situation where you have to charge your Apple Pencil, then you can charge through your iPad Pro, and it sure looks ridiculous. And it's an extra $99 device, so if you're not exactly fond of writing things or drawing like an artist on your iPad, you wouldn't need this. But as a long fan of willing to write note, jot, memo on the iPad, because it's such a nice tablet, if you decide not to write on it, I'm definitely a fan of the Apple Pencil over here. I'm not exactly a good writer or a good painter, but if you are one, there are some powerful tools like the Paint Storm over here, so you can, it of course has the pressure sensitive pen, so you can just draw like a magic there if you have the capabilities. What else is here? Of course, there's an Apple keyboard. They're calling it the Smart Keyboard, and here it is that it's only provided in the American English layout. If you're living in America, that would not be a big deal. If you are a bilingual or a trilingual who needs a keyboard of a different dialect, then this could render into a little bit of problem. They connect via the Smart Connector on the bottom of the iPad, which I think is designed very well. It looks really good, not exactly like a connector. You can just put that and magnetically they get attached. And there's no pairing required. You can just type right on. And to be honest, I'm not really sure if this is worth the $149.99 they are asking for. The keys are not that big and sometimes a hassle. Is there a key? Hassle to type on. And while I'm not exactly a big fan of this, the keys themselves are pretty good, but they're too narrow. You have to cringe a little to type properly on this keyboard. There's no palm rest, so that's kind of a bummer. There are three ways that you can use this keyboard cover. Of course, the first way is just like a keyboard, and you can close it and use it as a cover, in which this case, it wouldn't really go along with your rose gold iPad, so you will most likely want to purchase another silicone cover that they're asking for your fortune. And there's a cradle mode, there's a stand mode, and it works like that. And if you never learned about this, you'll never probably figure out how to do this. And the thing about the stand mode is, unlike the one from the iPad Pro 12.9 inches, this is too straightforward. You see the angle over here, that's definitely not optimal for watching experiences. When you're looking at from the top, you can see the angle is almost straight up forward. So your viewing angle goes like that, while the iPad Air is there. So iPad Pro is there. So I would have appreciated the viewing angle about that leaning angle a lot much better. Well, I don't think this is a very practical accessory that you can get. So what's up with the iPad Pro 9.7? Firstly, they added up a new A9X chipset. It's a slightly downclocked processor, so it's not as powerful as the one from the iPad Pro 12.9. And they only managed to put a 2 gigs of RAM instead of 4 that is included on the iPad Pro 12.9. So that's a little bummer, but this is definitely one of the most powerful tablets available around the market right now, if not the most. But the question over here is, so what is that exactly for? It's an amazingly powerful processor, but what can you do here? It doesn't have any 3D graphics tool like a professional 3D graphics tool. It doesn't have Adobe Premiere. It doesn't have Final Cut. So I'm not sure if you'll be able to utilize the overall horsepower that this guy has. Of course, better have the specs than to, struggle from the less of the specs, but that's one of a bummer. It's running on iOS instead of OS 10. So while you want to do everything professional and it has capability to do everything professionally, it doesn't have the suitable apps to follow that trail. But one part that I really think is worth calling it pro is the speaker. It used to have only one pair of the speaker on the bottom. They added up another pair on top over there, just like the bigger iPad. And while you're holding it just like that in portrait, they become the pair of left speaker and the right speakers. And if you're holding it landscape, they become pair of left speakers and the right speaker. And the speaker experience of the iPads has been always amazing. This guy's is slightly more amazing than it ever used to be. And this is one of the best speaker, if not the best speaker I've ever found, not only on the tablet, but overall mobile devices. The iOS experience is very, very solid, and everything that you run from here, the apps, the multitasking, everything is definitely flawless, and I really love doing pretty much everything on this tablet. I've always thought the iPad as the best tablet available, and I still think that way. The battery life is still amazing. They filled up the whole iPad literally with the batteries. The Touch ID is not the second generation, but it's still useful. And it also supports the Apple Pay, so if you want to pay for something, you can use your tablet. But here is one thing. While I really love this as a tablet, while I really love the iPad Pro 9.7 as a tablet, I'm not really happy about the pricings. Again, they do not offer any of the storages in between. It starts from the 32 gigs and it jumps up to 128 and 256. If you want a cellular version on top of the Wi-Fi only tablet, you will have to pay a lot more than the base model. And to be honest, when it's starting at $599 from the base model, I'm not too sure if it makes sense to raise up $100 even from the already expensive tablet of an iPad Air 2. I think what Tim Cook is trying to do is to make everything with this suffix Pro so they can charge $100 more for every single product that they have. I appreciate most of the things that what Tim Cook does. Mr. Cook is doing some amazing things to the world, but the Apple's pricings, I know what he's doing, but that's a terrible decision. Maybe good for Apple, not for the customers. And the worst part is, you'll still want this iPad Pro. At first, I thought it was ridiculous. I never thought that I would want to spend $100 more, but as I started using those amazing speakers, amazing display, those less reflective displays, and the True Tone display features, better camera, better processor, Apple Pencil support, smart keyboard, not so much. I kind of started to telling myself that maybe it's worth $100 more. Maybe I am getting more than the extra $100 that I was charged for. That's the magic of Apple. The iPad Pro 9.7 is still one of the best tablets available, and you will want this tablet if you ever want a tablet. But does that mean that I'm happy with what Apple's doing? No. I love the iPad. I don't really love the iPad policy, the Apple policy, especially the pricing policies. Always keep in mind that you can always get a fancy laptop for the price of the iPad Pro, Apple Pencil, and this lousy keyboard, but you'll still want one anyway. So that will be my final verdict. As much as I don't want to admit it, it's an amazing piece of tablet. Maybe it's worth the $100 more. But again, charging another $10 for the same old smart cover by making it not compatible with the one from the iPad Air 2, not cool, Mr. Cook, not cool. Thank you always for watching. You can meet us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. And as much as I like the iPad Pro 9.7, God, I hate to suggest it for its $100. Thank you. Meet us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, and we'll see you guys later. Ciao.